good day, everyone. My name is Khani Baloyi. I am an analyst at BFAP in the Commodity and Foresight Division, as well as the Socioeconomics Division. I am about to have a discussion with Gerhard van der Burgh on the recent Red Meat Abattoir Association conference that he attended. Gerhard, may you please introduce yourself?
I'm Gerhard van der Burgh. I'm also an agriculture economist at BFAP. I specifically work on production and trade and resource economics, and have been actively involved in the red meat industry strategy over the past 5 years, and looking forward to the discussion, Khani.
Thanks, Gerhard. So to begin, Gerhard, you, as I said, you recently attended the Red Meat Abattoir Association conference. What would you say, or what would you highlight as key insights that are important for the red meat industry at this moment?
So, Khani, I think that from our perspective, to fully comprehend and understand that the industry is at a crisis point, the realities on the ground is quite severe from a call it disease impact, and it was quite insightful to hear and to see how industry and government are talking to one another about solutions. And it's not just talking, there's implementation. So vaccines that are ordered, the application process, protocols that's being put in place, and supporting one another to fight the call it the current realities on the ground. And why I start with that is ultimately we need to de-risk agriculture in South Africa. De-risked environment will lead to investment, and that investment will lead to growth. And unfortunately, at this point in time, market development is 100% hinging on the disease status of the country and how we effectively manage that. So I would say with that kind of introduction, I think that's why it's such an important time in the industry to act.
Yeah, that's very interesting. These are quite critical issues for the development of the red meat industry. And just to follow up on that, what would you say are the key issues that you propose a public-private partnership should tackle in order not to waste a good crisis?
Yeah, so I think for a long time, even the abbreviation a PPP, I think a lot of people are, what is that? What does a public-private partnership look like? I think in other industries or sectors, we've seen the engagement of the public sector with the private sector, the likes of Transnet and some changes that we see there. And that would require actively engaging in who takes the responsibility of service delivery at certain components in the value chain. And specifically in the red meat industry, there are certain levels of authority with regards to trade, where our trade partners require the competent authority, which is the state, to have final closure on certain things. But you have many vets that can support, the state veterinarians in services because they are also trained, veterinarians. And there is an opportunity to basically, cede that responsibility to the private sector to implement on certain components and support the government on implementation. That's just one example. And I think the OIE, they are, they were very forthcoming with very well-defined structures and protocols to get a PPP going, specifically in the veterinary industry. We've seen examples in Argentina, we've seen examples in Paraguay, we've seen examples in Uruguay. So, many other nations that have struggled with exactly the same issue with the support of the OIE to actually get to effective public-private partnership to get that going. One would definitely argument without that we won't see enough traction and change, simply because the crisis is just too big for both parties. The final comment on that would be the cost of supporting a sector. So currently, I think more than 1.2 billion rand that's spent on veterinary services. There's there is money. It's being allocated to provinces, but it is the effective support structures and implementation that we know is the difficult part. And I think with private sector that's constantly boots on the ground, running around, supporting and doing things, it's now time to interact and get the full support of state, which, as I've mentioned in the beginning, I've heard at the Abattoir conference. I've seen it with the likes of Dr. Mpomaja, Dr. Molefi, and even the minister. So I think that willingness is absolutely there.
True. It's good to hear that the willingness to solve the biosecurity problem is there. Just to end off, thank you so much for your time. This has been very insightful. Thanks, Gerhard.
Thank you, Khani.